and welcome to another episode of Sam's Community TV and the Philly Sports Recap. And today we will be breaking down their 7-1 Philadelphia 76ers, first place in the Eastern Conference, winners of 7 straight games, and winners of their first in-season tournament game played last night against the Detroit Pistons. Sixers won 114 to 108. A lot of things to say about this team that is still on the rise. I thought this was going to be a game that they should win. And I will admit, in the first half, I wasn't sure. One, I thought that they came out as if it's all they had to do was show up. And the funny thing is, in my previous video, I thought the Sixers would have a hard time falling into a trap game. One, because of the in-season tournament. Two, because you just have motivated players that are trying to, feel their way on this team and essentially solidify their minutes on this team. It's a very competitive, deep bench and roster that the Sixers have. So I felt game in, game out, guys are going to be incentivized to really, put forth maximum effort so that they can ensure that they're in the rotation. Now, I just have to give credit to the Detroit Pistons because the first half of the basketball game to me was, I got to credit the other team. It wasn't just simply that the Sixers laid down, but Detroit came out with effort, tenacity. They have some really talented young players that I think in a few years are going to be a real problem in this league. And I think it kind of shell-shocked the Sixers, to be honest with you. I feel like, the length of Detroit, the tenacity in which they played with, the Sixers, they didn't match their length in terms of their starting guards with Maxey and Melton. But the tenacity and effort, the Sixers did not match that to start. The cool thing about this team, which is one of the reasons I believe in them, is that in the second half, they turn things around. So why don't we just kind of jump into the tape as I break down what I saw last night from this game. All right, so let's talk about first the court. I mean, listen, all right. So I understand why the NBA is doing the in-season tournament. It's to create interest during the NFL season because the NFL is king during the fall and winter, and the NBA is trying to, steal some of the shine and say, listen, there's a reason for you all to look at us, despite the fact that we have 82 games and football only has, 18 weeks. Here's what I'll say about this tournament. I think the players have bought in, and I'm actually going to talk about something that happens at the end of this game to sort of offer my perspective as to why I think the players have, bought into the idea of this tournament, which is only a good thing. You want players to play, spirited basketball. That's just what you want as a league, and as fans, you want to see guys giving it their all. So, that's my take in terms of the in-season tournament. Now, the design of the floor, come on, y'all. Listen, there were so many ways you can go with something like this. It's a whole new idea. So the fact that this is what they came up with is a little bit, I won't say discouraging, but you just thought that, wow, these courts can be kind of distracting. And I didn't think that that was the point of the tournament. I do think that it's a good idea to change the floor so that as a fan, you're watching an in-season game versus a regular season game. Now, granted, these wins and losses count on their regular season record, but there's also something separate that the in-season tournament, offers in terms of winning, financial incentives, and so it is cool to see a different kind of court. I think it has a different feel when you're watching the game. But going back to the actual game last night, as you can see, Detroit jumps out at a 10-point lead. I thought that we just really struggled to find our offensive rhythm. Part of it just seemed like the Detroit defense, they stepped up to the challenge. They're ready to meet us. And offensively, I just thought things would be a little bit simpler. The other thing that I still want to talk about, unfortunately for me, is the play of D'Anthony Melton. I think, I know Coach Nick Nurse said he's going to give it an 8 to 10 games to really look and evaluate the starting lineup. What's weird about that is that if the Sixers keep winning, then it's kind of a harder sell to take a guy out of the lineup if you're winning games. But I think it's obvious to people watching the game that the Sixers' offensive production could go up considerably if they had a player who was a lot more effective when they had their shot attempts. And right now, Melton is still struggling. He did hit some big shots down the stretch, which was good to see because you would hope that he can turn it on. But I do think long term, the Sixers are going to consider if they can improve, that starting two-hole spot. One thing I will say is that at one point there was a stretch with Batum in the starting lineup, and they took Melton out. And personally, I thought that looked really good. It offered us a lot of size and length, and I just think that Batum is a guy who can play multiple positions. So, I'll sort of offer my perspective on that unit a little bit later, and down the line, and seeing if Coach Nick Nurse, utilizes it a little bit more during the regular season just to see what he has there, because I think that lineup could offer some real challenges for teams. Um, the other thing I'll say is that in this stretch, our guy, I say our guy because I'm a Philly guy, Marcus Morris Sr., he struggled a bit in this game. And he had a stint in the first quarter, and I think they went away from him for the rest of the game. And I think it was a good decision. Actually, he's in right now in the second quarter. When he does get subbed out, they don't go back to him. Now, I think this is his second game back during the regular season, and this team was really young. Like the energy and just the speed that this team played with, I just felt like it was just a hard game for Marcus Morris to kind of get his legs under him. And so, Detroit ends up jumping out on us during this stretch with him on the floor. This is when, Detroit really starts separating. And I think at one point they have like about a 16-point lead that they were able to build. So, this is where I think Oubre comes in for Morris to kind of start turning things around. It's at least on the offensive end where we can get some better shots at the rim. But again, credit Detroit. These young boys came out to play. I want to talk about the kid. I want to say Asar Thompson. I heard Draymond Green shouting out some of these young guys the other day. And, the funny thing is at first I was wondering, like, hey, are these clutch sports guys? What's the fascination, right? I haven't seen any of these guys play, but sometimes you just wonder what some of the motives are. Man, having seen two of them last night in Sasser and Thompson, Thompson, this kid, I don't know what position he really plays, because a lot of times I thought I saw him and Joel Embiid seeming to go at it, but then I also see him guarding Maxey. So his versatility, it was shocking to see a guy that I'm looking at go, Embiid is sort of trying to defend, but then I'm seeing on Tobias Harris, on Maxey, he's just on everybody. And it was just hard for me even to get a sense of the size that he was on the floor. He just seems like a basketball player, man. Like, look at this move right here. Pump fake at the 3-point line, one dribble, Euro steps Embiid at the right down there in the paint, and then finishes with the nice English on the layup. It's just a heads up play for a rookie at that. A 20-year-old rookie, you could tell he's going to be a star. Here, I thought he shuffled his feet, and seeing it the second time, I saw that he did in fact shuffle his feet. But this is where the Sixers, to me, showed that this is the team I thought they were. In the third quarter, they really turned this game around, man. They put the clamps on this team, showed them who the big brother was, and they love playing defense. If you watch the game live, you could hear how the bench was like getting into all the defensive stops. They tied the game on this big shot by Embiid. And it was, back and forth for a few possessions, and then they just started to separate. This was, I think, this is a missed three by Melton. And again, Melton is to me is a guy that might be best served for us coming off the bench in that second unit, because right now there's more to be desired out of his production as a starting two guard on this team. He gets a lot of wide open shots. At some points, I think, the defense is just trying to funnel shots to him, and he's not making them pay. Again, Batum to Harris, ball movement, high IQ basketball team. I just love the way this team plays. And Maxey had himself a night, yo. Tyrese Maxey only Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry were the only two players, the last two players, now besides Embiid and Maxey, to average 25, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds starting a season. We're only 8 games in, but that's impressive. That those numbers, again, the only last duo that we saw do that was Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, two first ballot Hall of Famers. It just goes to show you how difficult that actually is. And that was a dynastic team. And so it bodes well for the Sixers that you have the best duo, producing at this level, and it's such an easy pair. Like Maxey is deferential to Embiid, and yet he's going to always have his opportunities to score the ball. This nice lob play. Here's another thing that Maxey is doing. 10 assists last night and 0 turnovers. 10 assists, 0 turnovers. This is his second 10 assists, 0 turnover game this season. He's only had 2 10 assist games in his career, and they both happened this season, and he didn't have any turnovers. His assist to turnover ratio is outstanding. That move right there by uh uh was it Cunningham? Is that his name? Hold on, I want to say Cunningham. He is this guy right here. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I know he's like the number 2 round, second overall pick. Um, that boy can play, yo. He's a very talented player, and I think that Detroit Detroit has a lineup. Detroit has a roster. They're just young. They're just young, but I'm actually going to be tuning in to more Detroit games because I like the way they play, and I love the fact that they have Monty Williams. Monty Williams is a coach that is underrated. I think that he is a leader of men, and I think it's a perfect type of coach. The same way I think Udoka is a perfect coach in Houston. I think Monty Williams is the perfect coach for this team in Detroit. He's going to give them confidence. He's going to, help them to be professional men, and I think that they're going to flourish, if they are able to keep this core together. But as you can see from the score, the Sixers pull away. Now, here's the play right here. Now, Joel Embiid takes a three-pointer, and he's asking, does it count, right? Now, when this first happened, what I thought this was from, earlier in the game, Joel Embiid was fouled, and he was going to the free throw line to shoot shots. Right before he took his shots, Monty Williams challenged the foul. And Joel Embiid got irritated, and he ended up getting a technical foul because he was upset that the challenge came so late. Now, at the end of the day, Monty Williams was in his right to challenge the play. The challenge wasn't overturned, and Joel Embiid shot his free throws, but he earned himself a technical foul because of that outburst. When I saw Joel Embiid take that three at the end, I thought that was just kind of like a dig back at Monty Williams for what he did earlier. So it's just like, yes, the unwritten rule of basketball, a little bit Bush League, but I understood. I had at least thought I knew the rationale behind it. But in the post game, what Joel Embiid said is that, no, I didn't take the shots, rub it in, but it's because of the rules of the in-season tournament. The point differential matters. So what he was saying is that I was trying to have that point score because it's not just about winning the game, but the amount of points you win by also weighs into how you crown a tournament champion. I didn't know that. So I learned that last night. And I thought that was really cool that Joel Embiid knew the rules of the in-season tournament and knew that this is not a situation where I'm being Bush League or trying to rub it in, but I'm actually playing to what's incentivized in this tournament. If I could get $500,000 at the end of this, then maybe I should take this 3-point shot if I can get additional 3 points, if it all matters. So kudos to Joel Embiid for understanding the rules and helping me as a fan understand a little bit more about why I think this is an actually interesting concept and why I do believe the players have bought in. So here's how I'm going to end this video, right? Because I don't want to say too much. I think I'm going to go a day at a time. We just had, or at least a game at a time because it's a long season. But I'm going to say one thing right now. Here's a trade idea that I would like us Sixers fans to consider. Close your eyes and imagine you're able to trade maybe one player and an asset. You move Melton down to your backup point guard position, and you bring home Markelle Fultz. Think about the size that Markelle Fultz has, his speed. Markelle Fultz and Tyrese Maxey in your backcourt. He is a willing passer. I think he'd be perfect for Nick Nurse's system. He's a very willing defender. Just think about that. He passes the ball first, and he can score when open. And I think this offense will give him opportunities to take shots. I think he'll take less shots than Melton because I think he's a natural playmaker, but I think he'll be way more efficient. If you can upgrade Melton with a Markelle Fultz and even maybe retain Melton by just using some of the draft capital that you acquired in a James Harden trade, now just think about it. To me, that's one of those moves where as much as I like the team as is, I would be willing to see what that looked like. I mean, I'm torn because I want to give this team 25 games just to take a look. But in my mind, I already know that that works. So if there's an opportunity, Daryl Morey, for you to bring Markel Fultz home, brother, I think that that's the move that ensures that this team can contend with anybody in the NBA. Now you have a tall point guard to pair with Maxey. He's athletic. He is fast with the ball, like Maxey is fast with the ball. So our transition numbers will even go up. He's a willing passer, so the ball won't stick. He'll get Joel Embiid the ball. I think he'll help Tyrese or Tobias Harris get more shots. I just think that this is a win-win. He can play in a second unit with guys. That to me should be a target. Let me know what you think. Bringing Markel Fultz back home to the 76ers to pair with this team. Let me know if you think that I'm off on this or if this is something that might just get us over the top and secure us as the number one seed all the way through this year. If you like what I had to say, please feel free to like and subscribe. But also, I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your feedback. This is a long season. I'm here for it. Sixers, again, 7-1, first place in the Eastern Conference, first win in the in-season tournament. They're rocking and rolling. So until next time, folks, peace.